Happy Wednesday. We are here today to talk with Greta Carnes, who is Pete for America's former national organizing director. I have a lot of questions for her from you on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and I know we have a short bit of time, so let's jump in and bring Greta on board. If we can find Greta. Greta. There we go. Hey!
Oh my gosh, hello!
Hi! Oh, I gotta turn you up just a second. Oh my gosh. Things are happening. There we go. Ooh, welcome to the attic.
Thank you so much. So great to be here.
We have a special guest today who's going down the stairs right now. Buddy has no time for any of our shenanigans. So, bye, Buddy.
Why doesn't he hang out?
Poor Buddy. Well, anytime he hears anything that might sound like the possibility of food downstairs, he's gone. Oh no, the connection hates us.
All right, I switched my Wi-Fi.
There we go. See, he's downstairs barking. There we go. So I actually have taken to, I have this bag of Sour Patch Kids up here. And when Buddy's downstairs and I really want him to come visit me, I just crinkle the bag and he comes running. I usually have doggy treats up here, but I'm all out.
So quarantine has been good to you.
Like, Buddy, come love me. I'm bored. Yeah. Okay, so now that we're connected, here we go. So I'm glad that you could spend some time with me today. I love getting to know you on the campaign, and you have a lot to share with everyone. You're a brilliant organizer and strategist. So why don't you just tell everyone really quickly who you are, where you're from, and then where are you isolating right now?
Yeah, well, I'm Greta Carnes. I was Pete's organizing director. I'm originally from Colorado, and I am still in South Bend, in my apartment, down the street from you. Looking over the Studebaker every day, just sitting in South Bend. It's also been great because I feel like I spent so much time in South Bend at the beginning and then was constantly in the office, and now I kind of just get to like go on runs around South Bend every day.
Yeah.
And so it's been kind of nice, but I also like desperately miss Chicory.
You know, Pete and I were walking the dogs yesterday and we were talking about the little things you miss, like running into people. And like when you go to Chicory, you're there for like a half an hour, right?
Yeah.
You just run into everyone. And it's just those, you know, happenstance meetings or like the small talk you have when you're picking up a cup of coffee that I miss too.
Yeah. You guys need to walk the dogs like by our apartment so we can wave from the window.
Yeah, when it's nicer out, we take them on really long walks, like through downtown. And I just went to the Purple Porch, which is such a sad place right now. I mean, no one's there, and it's like, you know, get your stuff, get out. For those of you who don't know, Purple Porch is our local co-op, and so I went in there and got like the really good cheese curds. They were out of the outside scoop ice cream. You know, they made that flavor for our wedding, and they sell it there, and they were sold out.
They're always sold out of the Mayor PB sandwich when I go there.
That's also really good.
Very popular.
Okay, so you're stuck here in South Bend. We got you for a little bit longer.
So excited to still be here in South Bend.
Have you seen that new, there's a new South Bend documentary that just came out?
I have it up on my computer to watch literally after this.
I'm only about half an hour into it, but it's beautiful. There's so many beautiful images of South Bend. Okay, so what led you, we're getting into questions now. What led you to become the organizing director for the campaign? And also specifically, why did you choose Pete's campaign? That is a submitted question. No pressure from me whatsoever, but I'm all ears.
Well, you know this whole story, and I don't think you and I have really like relived this story, but I knew I wanted to do a 2020 race. I knew I wanted to run a different kind of organizing program. You know, I had a lot of ideas and I thought like, wow, like, wouldn't it be great to work on a kind of a campaign that wanted to do things differently and try new things, and let's see which race that's going to be. And I was looking at all the candidates, and I, loved Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris, and I was so excited about so many candidates running. And I ran into Bridget in Chicago, and we were talking, and I was like, oh, where do you live? And she was like, oh, I'm living in South Bend. And I was like, oh, really? And she was like, yeah, I only have one friend. And I was like, if I lived in South Bend and I had one friend, it would be Chasten. And she DM'd me on Instagram like a month later, and it was a video of you being like, I'm following Greta on Instagram. And I was like, oh my God. I remember getting that video so vividly and being like, oh. And then Bridget was like, you should come join the campaign. And I was like, well. And then she and Mike convinced me to go to that, the Politics and Prose book event. And I thought there was going to be like, 15 chairs in front of Pete. I had no idea. And we got there, and there was like this line around the block. It was this pouring rain day. There were hundreds and hundreds of people in there, and we were sitting right in the very front row because they had these like chairs reserved for us. And I was like this close to Pete's knee. And I took my best friend, who's now on Biden's campaign, and my eyes were like gumballs. And at one point I started crying, and Courtney turned to me and she was like, okay, you're definitely going to work for him. I mean, that was it. I think it was when he was talking about, like, he started getting really excited talking about, like some like sewage system in Estonia or something. I don't even know. And he started talking faster and faster. And then it'd be like, sorry, I get really excited about it. And I was like,
oh, yeah. He's such a nerd. I love him. That was a good event. That was crazy.
It was a great event. We have a picture from it afterwards.
Yes. So our campaign's come to an end, but now we're still unified, moving forward together. So now folks have really specific questions for you about what we can do to be helpful. Actually, no, I lied. I want to back up. I have more questions I wanted to ask you about that. It's my Instagram. I'll do what I want. Something I loved about your department was you created and grew a department that was full of women leadership. What did that mean to you?
Yeah, I think turns out the best part of getting to build a department of like 250 people is that you get to pick them. And so we ended up creating a department that I think, was full of people that had different kinds of backgrounds, which I loved. And I think especially in organizing, it's really easy to like come up through the same kind of ranks. And I was really passionate about wanting to hire people that had really like different backgrounds, especially because we were trying to, elect this mayor. And I remember some of the conversations that we had in interviews was just like, one of the questions we would always ask would be like, if you could do anything you wanted to, if you could do anything differently, like, what would you want to do? Like, come bring that to this program. And so we ended up, especially for like our Marathon States program, I know so many people on this call have worked with Sam Steelman, like we ended up, hiring this woman who had done organizing and then gone into digital and was like the VP of a digital firm, and then was like, here's how we need to like totally change organizing, and came in, and it was like this great thing to watch. And Ruhi Rustam, like we heard this woman who came in and basically invented a different kind of training department than we had ever had before, and it took me like 2 months to understand what it was, and I was her boss. And like I think we just got to bring a bunch of people from different backgrounds, and we got to create the room for women to be like, I'm doing this, don't stand in my way. And that was a lot of fun.
I loved coming to the office whenever I was able to, and just popping in into your office, and then just like listening to people talk and like pitch these ideas and talk about these programs they were creating, or like messages they were hearing from the field. And your office was always full of just like, so not that all the offices weren't, but like sunshine and laughter and like brilliance, and it's just like, and this is what we're doing, and this is what we're doing, and it's incredible. And I think it was no small task, and we have a lot to be grateful for when it comes to you and the program you built, and all of the people you brought in with you that led us to that historical victory in Iowa. And that's just incredible. Like, you built something so phenomenal.
It was very cool to get to build kind of like a family, and like, it's so funny, I have just spent the last couple, I guess 2 full months now, like just talking to our organizing staff, and like, we've been redoing resumes, we've been talking about how to interview, and it's so fun to like, I've never been part of a campaign. Well, I've also never been part of a campaign organizing program for a while, but it's so fun to get to like keep this family going and keep treating each other like a family, even though it's over. And that it really is like, it is magical. There's something really special here.
Just the best people. I love following. I still stay up like on everyone's Instas watching, you know, all the sourdough you're all making. But just like the incredible jobs that people are also going on to do. Remarkable. So you built something really incredible. Do you have like one memorable moment that sticks out to you from the campaign?
Oh my God, I have thousands and thousands. But I think one of the ones that I love, I'm gonna probably tear up talking about it, but so I'd never been to Nevada before this campaign. And the first time we went to Nevada, I did what everybody does the first time they go to Nevada. And I was like, let's go to the Strip. And then we like did Vegas and I was like, this is the best. And then the second time we went to Nevada, I had calmed down a little by then. And we were doing our Get Out the Caucus training in Pahrump, Nevada. And so we had driven like an hour and a half outside of Vegas into Pahrump, Nevada, pretty desert, smaller town. And we were staying in this like kind of like an Airbnb, but it was kind of like a 4-H camp. And it was with me and the organizing staff, and Jimmy was there, and you know, they were training the Nevada organizers on how to run and Get Out the Caucus operation. And one of our regionals in Nevada was celebrating her 1 year of citizenship. And so we went to a local Walmart and we got a blank cake, and we had the people who owned the 4-H whip up some red frosting, like out of sugar. God. And we like with a fork drizzled, happy 1 year, #USA. And the way that we like delivered it to her was that night, we turned off all the lights and people put their phones on, like the Sparks rally where everybody was lighting it just by phone. And we started singing the national anthem. And at first it was kind of like campy. And then it became this like unbelievably moving experience. Like goodness. All of us like singing the national anthem. She was crying. Everybody was crying. It was like, I think by far the most emotional I've ever felt singing that song. And it was like this magical experience. And so then afterwards, we didn't have anything planned. And so we ended up going to this bar in Pahrump and took over a karaoke machine. And she delivered the citizenship test like it was bar trivia. And so we all took the citizenship test. And there was a lot of pressure on leadership to win. And it was just like such a magical night that I don't think that you could have ever planned. But it's like one of the things that just happens on a campaign on like a Tuesday night in Pahrump, Nevada.
That sounds about right. Yeah, Nevada was great. We had a great team out there.
We had a great team.
So now that we're moving into a very different type of election, a question for you from Twitter. Do you have any tips for relational organizing with peers who may be upset or angry or scared or disappointed in the way the presidential primary has turned out? And part 2, how can we show empathy while stressing the importance of voting blue up and down the ballot?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think that one of the things that I love the most about relational organizing is that it's a way to make things really personal. And I think I think at this point, we've all got a responsibility, right? One of our rules of the road. We've all got this like responsibility to not just vote for, Joe Biden, but to talk about why it's so critical and to remind everybody that's in our lives of why it's critical. And I think that one of the reasons why I'm excited to vote for Joe Biden, I'm not just voting for him, I'm excited to vote for him, is because my best friend works on that campaign. My best friend has been on that campaign since the very beginning. She loves Joe Biden so much. And she doesn't even need to talk to me about why she loves him for me to know that like, this matters to her a ton. And like, that's one of the reasons why I love him. And, my family were all unbelievable Pete supporters, as you remember. I think like, it's been easy to talk to them partially because I'm not talking to them just like, you guys, I know you were really disappointed that Pete didn't get it, but now we have to vote for somebody else. Like, I think it's almost like my responsibility to come in and say, like, I'm excited to vote for him. Pete endorsed Joe because we knew that we needed to have somebody like Joe Biden in the White House. Like, our candidate chose when he wanted to drop out because this became something that was so important to Pete. And if you love Pete, if you support Pete, it's on you to be as excited. It probably wasn't that fun to like, Pete must have been exhausted and he flew all the way to Texas and delivered a speech on stage with him, probably when he just wanted to be, sleeping. And it's because we all have to bring that level of commitment and excitement. And I think one of the best ways to make other people, first of all, let people like breathe, right? Like, it's been pretty fresh. I know it's only feel like 2 months, but you know, we've got a long time before we all have to vote, but I think we all need to start talking about like volunteering and why volunteering is important. And I know that like volunteering this cycle isn't just going to mean talking to everybody you know about Joe Biden. Volunteering is also going to mean talking about down ballot races and down ballot Democratic candidates, and the fact that our Supreme Court is completely on the line. And if Donald Trump is reelected, like we probably won't see a Democratic Supreme Court for our entire lifetimes. And it's on us to be excited, even if that means, you know, faking some excitement, even if that means finding a personal reason to be excited and sharing that personal reason. But we can take some time right now, but we have not a lot of time, and we need to turn around real quick and get excited about a lot of things. But there are also amazing down ballot candidates running this cycle. We have so much to be excited about as Democrats.
Absolutely. There are so many impressive down ballot candidates that truly, I mean, just resemble the best of America, and I think the best of the Democratic Party. And we're going to do a lot more. I know like Swati's doing a lot more over on her channel, bringing on candidates that you can get really excited about. But just the relational organizing aspect of it that your program modeled so well. I mean, that's why I have such personal conversations with people. It's why I did it out on the campaign trail, and it's why I'm still having them now. You can't be afraid. I think we all have to be ready to just be a little bit more vulnerable than we normally are, you know. And if you're comfortable being uncomfortable, then you have to talk about why this campaign is so important. Like I talk about my mom. I did a thread the other day on Twitter. My mom's been battling cancer for quite a few years, and I need our healthcare system in this country to improve. Obamacare is helping keep mom alive. It makes her medication affordable, but I need us to continue progressing on improving our healthcare system in this country instead of re-electing the person who wants to destroy it, right? As a teacher, I care so much about my students and the direction of education in this country, and that's why I want to elect a president who's going to put in a Secretary of Education who believes in public education. There are so many things for me that are personal. And those are the stories I tell people about why I'm fired up to vote for Joe Biden, because I need a Democrat at the top of that ticket to become president, because all of the things that are so personal for us are on the line, right? Especially when you talked about the Supreme Court. I mean, one of the most sacred things in my life, right? My marriage to Peter, that's on the line too. And I know this administration, this extremely homophobic administration, would love to see our rights stripped away. And that's why we have to work our hearts out to elect Biden as well. And I learned so much of that from you, that willingness to go out there and share your personal stories. And that's how you connect with people. You don't have to be like a political wizard, right?
Nope.
You just got to know how to talk to people about, you know, what's in here and what matters most. Did you see any more examples of that on the campaign trail where folks that you trained in organizing or folks in your department just had great success stories, or how they maybe learned how to open up and go out there and have those kinds of conversations?
Yeah, a lot of them. And I think one thing that I loved so much was hearing about, especially in places like Iowa, where I was like, in a lot of ways, like it's a very divided state in that it's like the rural areas are very red and the urban areas are very blue. And in a caucus, you have to organize everywhere. You can't just win in Des Moines or in Iowa City. Like you have to win everywhere. And one thing that was really inspiring to me is that, you know, we didn't go to Iowa and start calling through like all the people who had previously caucused. Instead, we went to Iowa and we found people who were really excited about Pete, and we asked them to talk to their own networks. And one thing that I really loved hearing about, especially from a lot of our organizers who are working in rural areas, was that a lot of times rural areas get left behind in a million ways. But in one of the ways is that, you know, not only do we not campaign there as much, but we don't invest in like trying to organize themselves, like trying to invest in making sure that communities come together. And so there was one story that I loved about this man who was a Republican, and during a Pete town hall, he stood up and he was like, you know, I know that it's going to surprise people here that I'm a Republican or that I'm even at this, you know, Pete rally, but like the reason why I am here is because I, you know, believe in this man, and I want to talk to my friends about Pete. And I, you know, it's not only like, you know, deciding to like flip from voting for Trump to voting for a Democrat. It's also like, you know, wanting to be so loud in your community and being the person who says, here's why I changed my mind. And that must be, especially in a rural community where this caucus, you know, ended on February 3rd and he's still living there. And that must be so vulnerable and so difficult. And if somebody can stand up and say, you know, I am now actively voting for a party I never thought I would vote for because the stakes are that high, and somebody can be that vulnerable in a rural red community with people who have known him for years and years, anybody can. And I think that's something that I keep coming back to is the stakes are pretty low for, you know, for us when it comes to talking to our friends and family, you know, especially me. Like most of my friends and family are Democrats, and they know me and they know that I'm very political. But for somebody who's never done it before, like those are the people that we need to be bringing in and like training and coaching and being supportive of, because those are the people who are going to reach people we otherwise wouldn't. And that is the thing that I loved most about our program, is that, you know, volunteering, if you talked to one person, you were a volunteer. We had room for everybody. And it was because we didn't, you know, only accept people who were willing to call people or who were willing to knock doors or whatever. Like anybody could have been a volunteer because we needed to spread the message to literally anyone.
Yeah. And you brought in a lot of college folks and younger folks who I think kind of like me when I was in college just felt like I'd never belonged there. I was not sort of like allowed to be in the political circle because I didn't like understand it and know how to fit in there, and wasn't even sure like how I could be helpful. What suggestions do you have for younger folks who are interested, and this is a specific question that actually came in off Twitter as well, who want to get involved in campaigning, but they don't exactly know how?
Yeah. Well, first of all, campaigns are the best. Welcome. They're the most fun. I started doing them when I was like 15 years old, and here I am. I'm never doing anything else with my life, so just DM me. But also, I think there's so many varying ways to get involved. So, like, I think, you know, the ultimate extreme is apply to be an organizer. There are so many good races this cycle. There are so many good places that are about to hire so many organizers, and anybody can be an organizer. Truly, anybody, especially this cycle where, you know, anybody, we need everybody's help, and we're going to be hiring a ton. So I think, like, first of all, if you want to like go be an organizer or find a job on a program, I was an organizer when I was, you know, 20 years old, and I had no experience and I had no idea what to do, and I was terrible at data, and I just sort of like lucked into the job, and like anybody can do it if I can do it. And so I think like that's one end of the spectrum. But if you just want to get involved with the cycle, like I think first of all, sign up for a campaign that makes you excited. You know, there's a ton of great candidates running. You don't have to be there right now. I mean, we're not knocking doors in our neighborhoods right now anyway. And so sign up to work for a candidate you're really excited about. Get in touch with the local organizer, or at the very minimum, like find an organization that's in your community already and start volunteering. I don't know if you guys have heard, but this coronavirus thing is pretty serious. And I think there's going to be a ton of work that we need to do as communities to come together around it. I think that I think I'm already seeing this, Chasten, I'm sure you are too. Like everybody's trying to reach out right now and talk to people right now, and it's a great opportunity. I've been on Zoom, you know, happy hours with people I haven't talked to in years, and it's just because we're all in this place where we want to talk. And like talking to your friends and your family, as close as you are or as not close as you are, about politics this cycle, about what Donald Trump is doing, about the fact that this is a really scary time. Like it's a really good time to weave politics into our everyday conversation. And whether that's with people you already know, or whether that's getting involved with an organization that's doing mutual aid efforts, you know, whether that's trying to like organize your community into finding like community childcare so that, you know, adults can work during the day and not have to worry about also homeschooling. But figuring out a way right now to reach out. And I think the easiest first step right now is literally just talking to your friends and family. That's the easiest thing to do. It's so important. It's so important now, especially.
I think I'm so impressed with what our organizers did out in the field to draw people. And I remember being in New Hampshire, and some of our organizers in New Hampshire had been meeting regularly with a group of high school girls who felt sort of like they didn't want their friends necessarily to know that they were involved in politics. Like no one at school was political, but they like wanted to be in for Pete, and they wanted to do all this work. And so our organizers were like getting manis and petties with them, and like hanging out and like eating cookies and gossiping in the field office because they made a spot there for them. But on the grander scheme, I just think we have to bust this mentality that politics is a club. Like it's a club that you can belong to. Politics isn't a club, it's personal. All politics is personal. And so everyone is allowed at that table because the choices people make on our behalf are so personal. What suggestions do you have for folks now considering how to organize during the pandemic? So you started talking about it. And how do you foresee us being impactful and helpful for the 2020 election?
Yeah, that's my favorite question right now. So I think that one of my favorite things on the Pete campaign that we did was sort of right away, we thought, well, you know, at the very beginning, it was like, who is this guy? We could do anything. We could throw spaghetti at the wall and see what stuck. And at the beginning, we were like, what if we just throw out the old playbook and start from scratch and figure out what kind of program we could run that we felt like? And we definitely made some mistakes, but we also, like, I think some things that we did really well were we, you know, figured out, like, if we could live in a world where you weren't door knocking like normal, or you weren't making phone calls, like, how else could we reach people? And that's sort of where we came with this idea of, like, let's embed our organizers in communities and have them talk to everybody and ask them to have their people talk to friends and family and essentially just circle people with conversations about Pete. And so I think this cycle is going to be another cycle where we sort of have to throw out the playbook. And if we're not going to be able to knock on doors, like, we're going to have to find other ways to engage people. And I think that, as scary as it is, I think it's also going to be a really good year for Democrats to get to do things creatively and get to think about, how do we critically solve this problem in front of us? And you're already seeing, I mean, there are so many smart people doing amazing stuff. I read this article the other day about Texas, how Texas, the Texas Democrats are organizing around community service right now. And I think it's this great opportunity this cycle for Democrats to not just talk about their values and talk about what they stand for, but, like, really demonstrate what we stand for. I mean, if you were reached out to by a campaign right now that said, like, hey, I want to make sure you know where the local hospital is in South Bend. I want to make sure that you and Pete have what you need right now. There are going to be on your street, a bunch of neighbors are offering to go grocery shopping once a week. Do you want to get in on that? They can leave things at your porch. Do you want to volunteer to help be a part of that? Like, if we do that for months, we can genuinely earn the trust of people in a different kind of way, so that when we say, like, here's why we need you to vote, here's what's on the ballot this cycle, like, it's going to be listened to in a different way. So I think the coolest ways that I can think of right now to organize this cycle are going to be making sure that we're actually doing community service work. We're doing mutual aid. We're bringing people together around coronavirus. We're not trying to campaign around it. We're campaigning right through it. And also, we're making sure that, you know, Donald Trump is going to be stirring up some misinformation, and there's going to be a lot of cloudy, you know, opinions about coronavirus and what's happening this cycle. And I think the second thing is going to be, people are going to rely on trusted information more than ever, and they're going to rely on the people in their life to tell them things more than ever. And I think this cycle, we all have to really be very strategic about and cognizant about reaching out to our friends and family and making sure that we're pushing the messaging on behalf of Democrats, on behalf of the Biden campaign, on behalf of, like, make sure that we're all voting together. We're all signed up and registered to vote together. If you haven't voted by mail before and this is the first time your state is doing it, make sure that everybody in your life is signed up to vote by mail. Make sure you know the deadlines so everybody knows the deadlines. And it's going to be a little bit more incumbent on all of us to be a little bit more civically engaged. But, like, that's a great opportunity.
Yeah. And I feel like it gave some folks sort of in our orbit, like, this sense of, like, leadership that they had never been handed before or ever felt before. Right? Like, you yourself can do this even in your small group of friends, you know, 5, 10, 15 people in your own family, being the person that's sending the email or the Facebook message or the text, like, click this link, register to vote, make sure you know how to get your ballot by mail. And, like, that's a leadership position that you can take on. Like, no one has to ask you to take it on. You can do that yourself.
Totally. And, like, you know, every single year, when I have to vote, my parents mail me my ballot for me in this, like, envelope that, this is still so embarrassing, is, like, covered in princess stickers. But I always know when it gets in the mail because I open the mail and I'm embarrassed. And then they've always, like, tucked in stamps for me to, in case I didn't have stamps, I'm 28 years old, like, so that I can mail it back in with no problems. And my mom will email me until it's in. And it's like, that's really organizing. And my parents, I don't think, would ever say that they're organizing, but, like, they just got another vote. And, like, that's what we have to do in our communities this cycle. But I think applying a little bit of, like, personnel, like, touch to it. I think also, like, you keep saying politics is so personal. Like, don't make it sound like you don't need to be really, you know, serious about it and corporate about it. Like, we can be a community around this, and you can be yourself while we do this.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we're running out of time. I'm wondering, I've been asking everyone before I should say, I see quite a few trolls in the comments saying I'm really bored. It's not that I'm bored. I just was, you know, taught to listen to a woman when she speaks. So I hope that they try it sometime. What are you watching or reading or learning during isolation? Any suggestions for anybody?
Yes. The other day I tweeted and I asked people to send me long form articles, and I have learned so much. I read about the Cascadia subduction zone. That shit is crazy, and our whole West Coast is about to fall into the ocean. I learned about the
Great.
I learned about the McDonald's Monopoly scam. I watched McMillions on
What?
Hulu. Have you watched it?
What? No. Please send that to me.
McMillions, yes.
Okay,
It's a
I'm going to check it right now.
series. It is about the McDonald's Monopoly scam. It is crazy. That was fascinating.
Is that going to break my heart? Because that was like a big deal for me when I was a kid.
I don't think it's going to break your heart.
It's like a big deal.
It's going to blow your mind.
Okay. Because during Lent, we get the fish sandwiches on Fridays. Oh my gosh.
You definitely need to watch it then.
Okay. All right. I'm going to watch it.
People sent me so many good long form articles. I read an article about this Fitbit murder and how this woman was wearing a Fitbit when she got murdered. And now they had, it was so much of the evidence. I mean, I have learned so much.
Okay. What's that one?
I'm just going to tweet a bunch of these.
Okay,
that one is called A Telltale Heart. I'm going to send you this one. It's fascinating. You have to let me know when you get to the end of that one because the ending of it is crazy.
I have stalled on Westworld. Are you watching Westworld?
No, I'm not good at watching TV.
Everyone told me to get through season 2 because season 3 was so much better, and I binged season 2, and now I'm to season 3, and you don't know because you haven't seen it, but it's very depressing. I put in all that work.
You need to go the route of documentaries. Documentaries are going to change your life.
Yeah, that's why I started the South Bend one this morning. It's beautiful. You're going to love it. And there's just
that one's not like the murder McDonald's one.
No, but that sounds, I want that too. And I've been rewatching Veep because there's a level of hilarity there now that we've been through it. I'm in season 3 when she's running and it's so close to home. But I think I'm at that point where I'm ready to laugh about it.
Okay, you got there pretty quick.
Well, I mean, I laughed at it the whole time it was happening because if you don't have a sense of humor, then how are you going to survive? But it's just oh my God, this is not in laughing at ourselves, laughing in this is so real.
Yes.
It's so real that the hilarity. There was when she's doing her book tour and someone brings her a sheet pan with a shape with butter in the shape of Iowa.
Yes.
I was that's real.
It's so good. The only thing that was wrong about that show was their field offices were always too nice. That was the only thing.
Far too nice. I remember when we first opened our office, I did that 12 field office opening tour.
Mm-hmm.
And Emily and I went to a couple of them and I was like, Emily, should I send them a gift basket of soaps or something?
Yeah, that's right. I just want their hands to be clean.
I want their hands to be clean and everyone likes a nice soap.
I remember when I was an organizer, a volunteer once walked in and offered to make 50 phone calls or cook me lasagna. And I had only eaten Twizzlers for the last week. And I was had drunk the Kool-Aid of the campaign that I was 50 phone calls. And she was like, you don't look healthy. And I was like, make phone calls.
And with Twizzlers coming out of your face.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, it was not. No one's living healthy.
Ma'am, let me get you a pair of AirPods and you can make 50 calls while making lasagna.
You know what we did last night was we got Fiddler's takeout.
What'd you get?
I got this the salmon burger.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
But Sam got the fish and chips and we did what we always do, which is we read the South Bend Tribune that they come in.
Isn't that awesome? When every time we go and I get the fish and chips, I always unroll it because I'm wondering if my husband is on the newspaper.
I need to send you a photo of one of them. And we went a couple weeks after Iowa, and it was something about the Iowa caucus right on top of the fish and chips, and we were like, let's just flip that over. Not quite ready yet.
I mean, you're all whatever. We don't have to go down this rabbit hole. Okay, thank you for the list of things. Please tweet them because I want to watch them. And also, thank you so much for all of your efforts on the campaign. And I hope more people follow you and listen to you, and you continue sharing your ideas and input for people who are looking for guidance, especially as part of this family. Belonging was a rule of the road. We've built such a wonderful community of followers. We've built a strong family. So I know they're all still looking to you for guidance on how they stay active and involved and impactful in 2020. And I hope you're doing well and taking care of yourself over there. I'm waving at you from across the river.
Hello. Yeah, let me know when you guys come walk by and we'll wave from the window.
Okay, good. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you spending the time. Oh no, you froze right at the end.
There you go.
What's that about? There you are. Okay.
Yeah, you're back.
I will talk to you soon. Ah, it's frozen again.
No, okay. You're great.
Oh. All right. I'll see you soon.
Sounds good. Tell Pete and the dogs I say hi.
Oh, I will. Bye. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope you go over to Greta's page and follow her either here on Instagram or on Twitter and continue taking her advice on how to stay active and involved in 2020 election, not only for Joe Biden, but for all of the impressive down ballot candidates that you should be following and paying attention to. You can help from the comfort of your own couch and pint of Ben & Jerry's, as I always said, on the campaign trail. Tomorrow, I'll be joined by Stephanie J. Black, phenomenal actress who recently won the Tony for her portrayal of Cher in the Cher Show. I am very excited to talk to her, and I'm going to try my best not to geek out too much because I'm a fellow theater geek. But until then, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, call your mom, and we'll see you in the attic tomorrow.